Earth was more beautiful than Hana had ever imagined. From space, it looked like a blue and green jewel spinning slowly in the darkness. White clouds swirled over vast oceans and brown continents. Cities glowed like stars on the night side of the planet. But the true beauty was not in how Earth looked. It was in how Earth felt. As their ship approached the planet, Hana could sense something she had never experienced before: billions of minds working together in harmony. Different, but united. Complex, but peaceful. The landing port was massive. Hundreds of ships from dozens of worlds came and went in careful coordination. Humans worked alongside aliens from across the galaxy, not as rulers and subjects, but as equals and partners. "Welcome to Earth," June said as they walked down the ship's ramp. "This is humanity, at its best." The city beyond the spaceport stretched to the horizon. Buildings of glass and metal reached toward the sky, connected by bridges and walkways that carried millions of people every day. But unlike the rigid, perfect architecture of wealthy cities, this place felt alive. Street vendors sold food from 100 different worlds. Children of many species played together in parks. Musicians performed songs that mixed melodies from across the galaxy. Artists painted murals that told stories in colors Hana had never seen before. "Everyone is different," she observed in wonder. "How do you keep order? We don't keep order," June replied. "We create harmony. Order is forced from above. Harmony grows from within. When people feel safe and valued, they work together, naturally." Hana was enrolled in the Earth Defense Academy, where young beings from many worlds learned to serve the greater good. Her hybrid strength and enhanced reflexes made her excel in physical training. Her quick mind absorbed tactical knowledge faster than her instructors expected, but the most important lessons came from her fellow students. There was Marcus from the asteroid colonies who had grown up in artificial gravity. There was Keiko from the Jupiter stations who could calculate orbital mechanics in her head. There was Dimitri from the Mars domes who understood how to survive in hostile environments, all different, all bringing unique skills. To the group, all valued for what they contributed rather than judged for where they came from. Her dormitory roommate was a girl named Elena, whose grandparents had fled a war on a distant world. Elena taught Hana about human history, showing her how Earth had overcome its dark past. "We used to hate each other for stupid reasons," Elena explained as they studied late into the night. "The color of skin, the shape of eyes, the gods we prayed to. We fought terrible wars over these differences." "What changed?" Hana asked. "We learned that our differences made us stronger," Elena replied. "When we stopped fighting each other, we could work together to fight real problems: disease, poverty, natural disasters, the challenges that threatened all of us equally." Hana learned about the great wars when humans had nearly destroyed themselves. She read about slavery and genocide, about hatred and oppression, but she also learned about the people who had stood up against evil, the ones who had risked everything to protect the innocent. "Your people are not perfect," Hana told June one day as they walked through a memorial garden dedicated to victims of humanity's past mistakes. "You have made terrible errors." "Yes, we have," June agreed. "That is why we remember them. We study our failures, so we do not repeat them. We honor the victims, so their suffering has meaning." Meanwhile, the diplomatic situation with the Velti Imperium was getting worse. They had sent investigators to the crash site and found evidence that the pod had been opened. Someone had survived the crash and been rescued. Ambassador Yuki was Earth's finest diplomat. She had negotiated peace treaties with hostile alien empires. She had prevented wars that could have destroyed entire solar systems. But even she was struggling with the Vaelti demands. They want to search every Earth ship that has visited their system in the past month. Ambassador Yuki explained to the Defense Council. They want to scan for Vaelti DNA. They want to find their missing outcast. "We cannot allow that council," Chairman Lee replied. "If they find Hana, they will demand her return for execution. Then we must prepare for the possibility of conflict." The ambassador said, "The Valti fleet is already moving toward our borders." Hana was called to a meeting with the highest levels of Earth government. She sat in a room with generals, admirals, politicians, and diplomats, all the most powerful humans on the planet, and they were asking for her opinion, the Valti. "We'll not negotiate," Council Chairman Lee explained to her. "They see your existence on Earth as a violation of their sacred laws. They demand your return." "I should go back," Hana said quietly. "I cannot let humanity suffer for my sake. Absolutely not, Admiral," Chen replied firmly. "We do not abandon our people, and you are one of our people now." But Hana could see the weight of the decision in their faces. Earth was facing possible war with a superior military force. The Vaelti had better weapons, better shields, better technology. The only advantage humanity had was their willingness to work together. That night, Hana could not sleep. She walked the corridors of the academy thinking about everything she had learned, the courage of humans who had died, fighting against oppression, the wisdom of leaders who had chosen peace over pride, the strength that came from diversity and cooperation. In the distance, she could see the lights of the city, millions of humans going about their lives, working and loving and dreaming and hoping, all of them at risk, because one broken girl from a distant world had been shown kindness. But as she watched, she realized something important. She was not just one broken girl anymore. She was part of something larger, a community that valued every member, a society that grew stronger through inclusion, a people who believed that everyone deserved a chance to prove their worth. The Valthi fleet would arrive soon, and with it would come the test of everything humanity stood for. Would they surrender their principles to avoid conflict? Or would they stand firm in their beliefs? No matter the cost, Hana touched the silver bands on her wrists. They no longer felt like marks of shame. They felt like symbols of survival, of strength, of hope. Tomorrow she would help humanity decide how to face the coming storm. The Earthship was unlike anything Hana had ever imagined. The walls were covered with soft lights that did not hurt her eyes. The air smelled clean and fresh. Music played softly in the background, something gentle and welcoming, but most amazing. Of all were the humans who worked on the ship. They came in different colors, shapes, and sizes. Some had dark skin, like the night sky. Others were pale as June's. Some had eyes like hers. Others had eyes of brown or gray or blue. They all wore the same uniform. They all worked together with easy friendship. No one stared at anyone else for being different. No one whispered about impure blood or genetic flaws. "Dr. Martinez will examine you," Captain Kim told Hana as they walked through the ship. "Corridors. She is our medical officer. She will make sure you are healthy after your time in the desert." The medical bay was bright and clean. Dr. Martinez was a small woman with kind eyes and gentle hands. She spoke to Hana in soothing tones as she checked her vital signs and treated the cuts on her feet from walking on sharp desert rocks. "Your hybrid genetics are fascinating," the doctor said as she studied the readings on her instruments. "You have increased bone density, improved muscle, strength, and enhanced heat resistance. Your mixed blood is actually a significant advantage." No one had ever called Hana's genetics an advantage before. On Vaelth, her differences were seen as defects, contamination of the pure bloodline. But here, they were treated as gifts. While the doctor worked, Captain Kim received a priority message from Earth Command. The Vaelthi Imperium had noticed the missing escape pod. They were demanding answers about their lost citizen. "This complicates things," the captain muttered as she read the message. "They know one of our officers crashed on their world. They will want to know what happened to him. June, who had been resting in the medical bay, sat up straighter. "Captain, we could tell them I died in the crash." body was consumed by desert scavengers. They would have no reason to investigate further. That would require falsifying official records, Captain Kim replied. That would be a court-martial offense for all of us. Sometimes doing the right thing requires breaking the wrong rules, June said quietly. Hana risked her life to save a stranger. Should we risk less to save her? The captain looked at Hana, who was pretending not to listen, while Dr. Martinez bandaged her feet. The girl had been thrown away by her own people like garbage. Yet she had chosen to help rather than harm when she found June in the desert computer. Captain, Kim said finally. Amend the mission report. Lieutenant Park's escape pod suffered catastrophic failure upon impact. No survivors. Recovered. Cause of death. Extreme environmental exposure. Are you certain? Captain, the computer asked. This will require command authorization. Authorization. Kim Alpha 7. 7. The captain replied. Do it. The computer acknowledged the order and the false report was filed. In the official record, June Park had died in the desert crash. There was no mention of rescue or survivors. Why, Hana asked quietly when the captain finished. Why risk so much for someone like me? Because someone like you is exactly the kind of person worth risking for, Captain Kim replied. You could have taken June's supplies and left him to die. Instead, you saved his life. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. The ship continued its journey toward Earth, but their troubles were far from over. The Vilthy Imperium was not satisfied with the report about the crashed pod. They demanded to search the crash site. They wanted to recover the body and investigate what had really happened. Meanwhile, Hana learned about human culture from the crew members. Each person she met had a different background, a different story. Engineer Torres was from a place called Mexico, where people spoke a language called Spanish Navigator. Singh was from India, where his ancestors had practiced a religion called Sikhism. Communications Officer Johnson was from Africa, where her great-grandmother had been born into slavery but fought for freedom. All different, all valued, all working together toward common goals. But the most important lesson came from watching how they treated each other. When Engineer Torres made a mistake that damaged a power, coupling the crew worked together to fix it. No one blamed him or called him inferior. When Navigator Singh struggled with a difficult calculation, Communications Officer Johnson helped him work through it. This is how we survive, June explained to Hana as they watched the crew work. We are not the strongest species in the galaxy. We are not the smartest or the most advanced, but we work together. We help each other. We never abandon our own. Soon, they would reach Earth and Hana would see this philosophy in action on a planetary scale. But first they had to deal with the growing diplomatic crisis as the Vilthy Imperium grew more suspicious about what had really happened in the desert. The captain called a meeting with her senior staff. The situation was becoming dangerous. If the Vilthy discovered they were harboring an outcast, it could mean war between the two species. We have two choices, Captain Kim told her officers. We can turn Hana over to the Vilthy and hope they forgive our deception, or we can protect her and face whatever consequences come. The vote was unanimous. They would protect Hana no matter what it cost them. Humanity was about to learn that doing the right thing sometimes meant defying the galaxy itself. The pod opened with a soft hiss of escaping air. Hana fell backward as cool mist poured out into the hot desert. The unconscious figure inside stirred and coughed. Slowly, his eyes opened. They were brown eyes, darker than any Hana had ever seen. The person had pale skin with strange markings on his face that might have been injuries. His hair was black and cut short in a style she did not recognize. The man tried to sit up but winced in pain. He spoke words in a language Hana did not understand. His voice was deeper than Vilthy voices, but somehow gentler. When he saw her, he stopped speaking and stared. Hana pointed to herself. I am Hana. she said slowly in the trade language that most space travelers knew. I found you in the desert. You are hurt. The man nodded, understanding. I am June Park, he replied in the same trade tongue. His accent was strange, but she could follow his words. I am from Earth. Do you know where I am? Hana touched the silver bands on her wrists. Vielth, she said. The desert. Of the outcasts, I was cast out for being impure. My blood is mixed. June looked at the bands and his face changed. It became sad and angry at the same time. I have studied your people, he said. These bands mark you for death. They threw you away to die. Yes, Hana replied simply. That is our way. The pure survive the impure. Do not, June struggled to sit up fully despite his injuries. That is not right, he said firmly. Where I come from, we judge people by what they do, not by who their parents were. Hana stared at him in shock. No one had ever said such a thing to her before. You are strange, she said. Your people do not care about blood, purity. June almost smiled. We used to, he said. Long ago. My people fought wars over the color of skin or the shape of eyes. We nearly destroyed ourselves with such thinking, but we learned we grew past it. Now we are stronger because we are different. He looked around the pod and found a small bag of supplies. Inside were packets of food, bottles of water, and a strange device with blinking lights. This is emergency rations, he explained, and this is a communication device I can call my people for rescue. Will they take me? Hana asked quietly. Or will they leave me to die like my own people did? June met her eyes directly. They will take you, he said with certainty. My people do not abandon those who need help. It is not our way over the next 2 days while they waited for rescue. June shared his food and water with Hana. He told her stories about Earth, a world where billions of humans live together despite being different colors, speaking different languages, following different beliefs. You have no pure blood laws, Hana asked in amazement. We learned that pure is a lie. June explained, all humans are mixed blood. If you go back far enough, we are stronger when we work together. Different people see different solutions to problems. Hana told him about Valti society, the rigid rules about genetic purity, the way mixed blood children were hidden in shame until their 16th birthday. The desert filled with the bones of the cast out. It is waste. June said sadly, You throw away your strongest people. Look at you. You survived 3 days in this desert without food or water. A pure Valti would have died. On the first day, I am not strong, Hana protested. I am impure, flawed, broken. No, June said firmly. You are hybrid. You have advantages. They do not. Your mixed blood gives you the best of both worlds, but they are too afraid to see it. On the 3rd day, a shadow passed overhead. A ship unlike any Hana had seen before. It was sleek and functional, painted in colors of blue and white. It landed near them with barely a sound. The door opened and out stepped a human woman. She was older than June with gray hair and sharp eyes. She wore a uniform similar to his but with more decorations on the chest. Her face was stern and businesslike. Captain Kim June said with relief as he struggled to stand, I am glad to see you. The woman who was Captain Kim looked at June then, at Hana. Her expression hardened when she saw the silver bands. Lieutenant Park, she said in a cold voice. Step away from that creature. We cannot have impures on an Earth vessel. Hana felt her heart sink. She had hoped for a moment that these humans were different, but they were just like everyone else. They would leave her to die in the desert. But June moved between her and the captain. With respect. Captain, she saved my life. She said I found her dying in the desert. She shared her last water with me. She could have left me to die and taken my supplies, but she chose to help Captain. Kim studied both of them carefully. "The treaty with the Vaelti Imperium is clear," she said. "We cannot harbor their outcasts. It would cause diplomatic problems. Then change the records," June replied boldly. "Log her as an unknown alien species. Delete any reference to Vaelti DNA. Do what you must, but I will not leave her here." The captain was quiet for a long moment. She looked at Hana, who stood straight. Despite her weakness and fear, the girl had survived what should have been certain death. She had saved one of Kim's officers when she could have saved herself against my better judgment. The captain finally said, "Computer log this as rescue of unidentified alien species. Delete all Vaelti genetic markers from the record." Hana could not believe what she was hearing. They were breaking their own rules to save her life, just like June had said they would. "Welcome aboard the Earth. Defense Ship Harmony, Captain," Kim said to her. "Though this action may cost me my career, I will not become the kind of person who leaves the innocent to die." As they walked to the ship, June stayed close to Hana. "You see," he said quietly, "my people keep their promises. We do not abandon our own. And as of right now, you are one of our own." Hana touched the silver bands on her wrists. They no longer felt like chains. They felt like a reminder of how far she had come, from outcast to rescued to accepted to home. The twin suns of Velth burned bright in the morning sky as Hana pressed her face against the cold stone wall of her small room. She could hear the sounds of the city waking up outside, market sellers calling their wares, children laughing as they ran to school. The normal sounds of a normal day. But today was not normal for Hana. Today was her 16th birthday. Today was marking day. She pulled her hands close to her chest and stared at her blue skin. It was darker than most Vaelti, almost purple in some places. Her hair was black instead of the silver white that marked pure blood. Her eyes were green rather than the golden yellow of her people. Everything about her screamed impure. The door to her room opened without a knock. 3 council guards entered. Their armor gleamed silver, and their faces showed nothing but disgust as they looked at her. The lead guard held silver bands in his hands, the bands that would mark her forever. "You are Hana, daughter of Nira," the guard said in a flat voice. "Your mother committed the crime of mixing blood with an alien. Your birth is a stain on our pure race." Hana said nothing. She had known this day would come. Her mother had died giving birth to her. The woman had never told anyone who her father was, only that he came from the stars and that she loved him. The council had let Hana live until now, because Vaelti law said children could not be punished until they became adults. At 16, she was no longer a child. She was a problem that needed to be solved. "Hold out your arms," the guard commanded. Hana did not move. She looked at the silver bands and felt her heart racing. They were not just jewelry, they were a death sentence. Once they were locked on her wrists, she would be cast out into the wasteland beyond the city. No food, no water, no hope of survival. "I said hold out your arms," the guard repeated. His voice was colder now. "What if I refuse?" Hana asked quietly. "What if I fight? Then we will put them on your dead body," the guard replied. "But your death will be quick here. In the desert, it will be slow." Hana closed her eyes and held out her arms. The metal was cold against her skin. She heard the soft click as the bands locked in place. The sound seemed to echo in the small room like the closing of a tomb. "You have 1 hour to leave the city," the guard said. "If you are found within the walls after that time, you will be killed on sight." The guards left without another word. Hana sat on her bed and stared at the silver bands around. Her wrists, they were beautiful in their own way, carved with ancient symbols that told the story of Vaelti purity. But to her they felt like chains. She had one small bag of belongings, a few clothes, some dried fruit, water enough for maybe 2 days. If she was careful, a picture of her mother that she kept hidden under her mattress. The picture showed a young Vaelti woman with the traditional silver hair and golden eyes, but her smile was different from other pure bloods. It was warmer somehow, more alive. Hana had always wondered if her father was the reason for that smile. She put the picture in her bag and walked to the door. For the last time, she looked around the room that had been her home. It was small and plain. The council had given her mother the worst housing in the city because of her crime. But it was still home. The walk through the city was the hardest thing Hana had ever done. People saw the silver bands and moved away from her children who had played with her before. Now hid behind their parents, adults who had been kind to her mother now looked at her with hatred and fear. "She is impure," someone whispered. "Look how dark her skin is. Her father must have been one of those disgusting alien traitors." Another voice said, "Thank the ancestors, she is finally being removed." A third person added, "The city will be clean again." Hana kept walking. She did not look back. She did not cry. She held her head up and walked toward the great gates that led to the wasteland. She would not give them the satisfaction of seeing her broken at the gates. She met others like her 3 more impure children who had reached their 16th birthdays this year. A boy named Kai, whose father had been from the ice world of Corvex. A girl named Nari, whose mixed blood showed in her silver-streaked hair, and another girl called Mira, who was so close to pure that her impurity only showed in the strange blue of her eyes. They looked at each other with sad understanding. They were all walking to their deaths together. The gates opened with a grinding sound of metal on stone. Beyond them stretched the red desert of Vaelth. Nothing but burning sand and sharp rocks as far as the eye could see. The twin suns blazed overhead, turning the air into waves of heat. "Walk." The guard at the gate commanded. "Do not look back. Do not return. If you somehow survive, you are no longer Vaelti. You are nothing." The 4 young people walked into the desert. The gates slammed shut behind them. The sound echoed across the empty wasteland like a final goodbye. For the first few hours, they walked together. They shared water and tried to encourage each other. But the desert was cruel. The heat drained their strength. The sand burned their feet through their thin shoes. The sun reflected off the rocks and blinded them. By the second day, Kai had collapsed. The heat was too much for his ice world genetics. Nari and Mira tried to carry him, but they were too weak. The boy died that afternoon with his friends, holding his hands. On the 3rd day, they found the dried bones of other outcasts who had walked this path before Nari broke down, crying. "This is where we will die." She sobbed. Just bones in the sand for the wind to scatter. But Hana felt something different inside her. The part of her that came from her alien father was fighting back. Her hybrid body was stronger than pure Vaelti. She could last longer in the heat. Her mixed blood gave her advantages that pure genetics could not, when Nari and Mira could. Walk no further. Hana shared her last water with them, but she knew it was not enough. They would die here just like Kai, just like the countless others who had been cast out before them. As the sun set on the 3rd day, Hana walked alone. Her friends were gone. Her water was gone. Her hope was almost gone. The desert stretched endlessly in all directions, nothing but death and emptiness. But then she saw something strange in the distance, a glint of metal that did not belong, something that had fallen from the sky. It was not Vaelti technology. She could tell that even from far away, it was something else, something alien. With her last strength, she walked toward the strange object. It was some kind of pod, made of metal she had never seen before. Inside, through a small window, she could see a figure. A person lying unconscious, dark hair, pale skin, wearing a uniform with symbols she did not recognize. The pod was warm to the touch, warmer than it should be in the cooling desert air. There were markings on the side in a language she could not read, but somehow she knew this person inside was still alive. Hana looked at the silver bands on her wrists, the marks of her shame. Then she looked at the unconscious alien in the crashed pod. Her. People had cast her out for having alien blood. Maybe this alien would understand what it meant to be alone in a hostile world. With the last of her strength, she began trying to open the pod. She would save this stranger or die trying. It was better than dying alone in the sand. The desert wind howled around her as she worked. The twin suns began to set, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. Soon it would be night and the cold would come. But for the first time since leaving the city, Hana felt something other than despair. She felt purpose. The Valthi war fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system on a cold Tuesday morning, 50 ships of gleaming metal and deadly power. Their weapons could shatter moons, their shields could deflect the fury of stars. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Unity, watching the alien fleet take position. His own forces were pathetically small in comparison. 20 ships with outdated weapons and basic armor. But every human crew member was ready to fight. The enemy fleet formed a perfect battle formation. Every ship in exactly the right position, every weapon aimed with mathematical precision. It was beautiful in its cold efficiency. Everything Valthi culture valued most standing beside the admiral was Hana. She had requested to be on the bridge when the fighting started. She wanted to face the people who had cast her out. She wanted them to see what she had become. Open a channel to the lead ship, Admiral Chen commanded. The main screen showed High Commander Thex of the Valthi Imperium. His blue skin was pale with anger. His golden eyes burned with righteous fury. Behind him stood other Valthi officers, all pure blood, all certain of their superiority. Primitive humans, he said without greeting. You have committed an act of war against the Valthi people. You harbor an impure creature that belongs to us. Return it now or face the consequences, Admiral. Chen stepped forward calmly. We have no idea what you are talking about, Commander. Our records show no Valthi. Citizens aboard any Earth vessel. Lies, the commander spat. We have evidence. One of our outcasts was rescued from the desert. Your people have violated our sacred laws. Hana moved into view of the camera, letting the commander see her clearly. Yes, she said, in perfect Valthi. I am the impure you seek. I am the one your people threw away to die. The entire Valthi bridge fell silent. Thex stared at her in shock and disgust. He had expected to find a broken creature begging for mercy. Instead, he saw a young woman who stood proud and strong, wearing the uniform of the Earth Defense Force. You dare wear their colors, he whispered. You pollute their ranks with your presence. I wear these colors with honor, Hana replied. I serve alongside beings who judge me by my actions, not my bloodline. I have found a place where my strength is valued instead of scorned. Enough, Thex shouted. The impure will be returned for proper execution or we will take it by force. You have 1 hour to surrender. The channel closed, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Hana looked around at the human officers who would soon be fighting for her life. These people owed her nothing, yet they were willing to die rather than abandon her. I should surrender, she said quietly. It would save so many lives. Never, Admiral Chen replied firmly. We do not negotiate with those who would murder the innocent. As news of the standoff spread across Earth, something unexpected happened. Refugee ships began arriving from across the galaxy. Beings who had heard about the world where outcasts found sanctuary. The Mektar sent their genetically modified warriors who had been cast out for being too different. The Zentari sent their artists and philosophers who had been exiled for thinking forbidden thoughts. The Holani sent their survivors of the Great Purge ship, after ship arrived carrying the galaxy's unwanted, the ones who had been rejected by their own peoples for being different. Captain Kim, now promoted to Admiral for her courage, brought her ship alongside the Unity. Her crew had volunteered to stay and fight, even though they could have been transferred to safety. This is not just about one girl anymore, she told Admiral Chen. This is about every being who has ever been thrown away for not fitting in. The refugee fleet was a strange sight. Ships of different designs, different technologies, different purposes, but they flew together with common cause. All of them had found hope in humanity's promise of acceptance. High Commander Thex was furious when he saw the growing alien fleet. These mongrels dare stand against Velti purity. He raged, order the attack, destroy them all. But as the battle began, something unprecedented happened. Hana activated the communication system and broadcast on all frequencies, speaking directly to every Velti ship. "I am the impure child you cast into the desert," she said. "My name is Hana, and I want to tell you what I have learned among the humans." Her words reached not just the war fleet, but Velth itself. Millions of Velth. I heard her voice carried across space by their own communication networks. "You threw me away because my blood was mixed," she continued. "But look what I have become. I am stronger, faster, more resilient than any pure. Blood, I survived your desert. I excel in their schools. I serve with honor in their fleet on. Velth itself, hidden in dark corners. Other outcasts listened. Half-breed children who lived in fear. Mixed blood adults who hid their differences. All the impure who had somehow avoided the desert. The humans do not care about the purity of blood," she told them. "They care about the purity of heart. They judge by courage, not by genetics. They value difference instead of fearing it." Riots began on Velti. Worlds, as the oppressed, found their voice. The rigid order that had ruled for centuries began to crack as people questioned the old ways in space. The battle raged, but it was unlike any conflict in galactic history. The refugee fleet fought with desperate courage, using tactics born of survival. The humans coordinated everything, turning individual strength into collective power, and slowly, impossibly, the tide began to turn. The Battle of Earth lasted 3 days and changed the galaxy forever. On the first day, the Velti fleet attacked with overwhelming force. Their plasma cannons cut through refugee ships like paper. Their advanced shields turned human missiles into harmless sparks. But the defenders did not break. For every ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. Rescue shuttles pulled survivors from burning hulks. Medical ships treated wounded from a dozen species. Engineers worked around the clock to keep. Damaged vessels fighting Captain Kim led a squadron of mixed human and alien ships in a desperate attack on the Velti flagship. Her ship was heavily damaged. Her crew was injured, but she pressed forward with grim determination. Admiral Chen coordinated the defense from his command center, turning Earth's orbital platforms into a network of mutual support. No ship fought alone. Every vessel was part of a greater whole. But the real battle was not fought with weapons. It was fought with words. Hana continued her broadcasts, speaking to every Velti who would listen. She told them about human history, about Earth's transformation from a world of hatred to a world of hope. "You fear that mixing blood makes you weak," she said. "But look around you. The humans are the youngest species in space, yet they have built something beautiful. They took their differences and made them strengths." Her words reached the hidden outcasts on every Velti world. Children kept in basements, adults who lived in constant fear, scientists whose mixed heritage gave them insights their pure blood colleagues could never achieve. On the second day, riots erupted across the Velti Imperium. Pure-blood authorities tried to maintain order, but their rigid system could not adapt to spontaneous rebellion. Outcasts emerged from hiding, demanding recognition. Mixed-blood citizens revealed themselves publicly for the first time. The Vaelti fleet began to waver. Some captains received orders to return home to deal with civil unrest. Others began to question why they were fighting to kill children. Others wondered if the rigid purity laws were truly sacred. Young Vaelti officers who had never seen combat watched human crews die protecting alien refugees. They saw beings sacrifice themselves for strangers. They witnessed the power of cooperation over domination. On the third day, everything changed. Captain Nex was a mid-level Vaelti officer serving on a destroyer. He had a secret that could cost him his life. His grandmother had been from another world. Her blood flowed in his veins, making him technically impure. He had hidden this fact, his entire career living in constant fear of discovery, but watching the humans fight and die for their principles. Something stirred in his heart. He opened a channel to his crew. "My fellow Vaelti," he announced, "I have something to confess. I am not pure blood. My grandmother was Holani. I have lived in shame and fear my entire life." The crew stared at him in shock. Some reached for their weapons, ready to arrest him for contamination. But he continued speaking. "Look at what we are doing," he said. "We are killing children for the crime of being born. We are destroying hope for the sake of genetic pride. We have become the very thing our ancestors fought against, tyranny." One by one, his crew began to lower their weapons. Some nodded in agreement. Others admitted their own family secrets, the genetic modifications hidden by makeup, the alien ancestry, covered by lies, the impurity that existed in almost every bloodline. If you looked deep enough, Captain Nex ordered his ship to stop firing. Instead, he opened communications with the human fleet. "My name is Captain Nex," he announced to Admiral Chen. "I formally surrender my vessel and request sanctuary for my crew. We no longer wish to fight this war." His actions started a cascade. Others followed his example. Vaelti ships began breaking formation. Some fled back toward their homeworlds. Others requested permission to approach Earth peacefully. High Commander Thex was apoplectic. "Cowards!" he screamed at his remaining loyal ships. "Traitors infected by alien thinking. Continue the attack." But his fleet was falling apart. Captains refused orders. Crews mutinied. Entire ships defected or simply withdrew from battle. The rigid chain of command that had made the Vaelti military so effective became a weakness when that authority lost legitimacy. On Earth, Ambassador Yuki saw her opportunity. She opened diplomatic channels with the moderate Vaelti commanders, offering negotiation instead of destruction. The war ended not with a great battle, but with a simple conversation. Hana spoke directly to High Commander Thex. "One last time. You see me as impure," she said, "but I am proof that your way is wrong. I am stronger than your pure bloods. I am braver than your officers. I am more loyal than your citizens. And I am exactly what your people threw away." The commander stared at her with eyes full of hate and confusion. Everything he believed, everything his society had taught him was crumbling around him. "You have destroyed us," he whispered. "No," Hana replied. "I have shown you a better way. You can choose to learn, or you can choose to die with your old beliefs. But you cannot stop change from coming." The Treaty of Earth was signed 6 months later. The Vaelti Imperium agreed to end their purity laws and accept refugees who wanted to return home. Earth would share its integration, techniques, and cultural programs. Most importantly, the galaxy would establish the Sanctuary Worlds planets where any being could find refuge regardless of their origin or differences. Hana became the first director of the Sanctuary program working. With June, who was now a decorated captain, she helped establish safe havens across the galaxy. The first sanctuary world was called New Haven. It orbited a yellow star much like Earth's sun. The planet had green oceans and purple continents, cities, built by cooperative effort rather than forced labor. Children of dozens of species played together in the parks. Adults shared knowledge across cultural boundaries. Artists created works that blended traditions from across the galaxy. Scientists made discoveries that no single species could have achieved alone. Years later, Hannah stood in the central plaza of New Haven's capital city, watching the daily miracle of different beings choosing to work together. The silver bands still encircled her wrists, but their meaning had changed completely. They were no longer marks of shame. They were symbols of survival, of second chances, of the idea that everyone deserved a place to belong. June approached carrying his infant daughter, a child with his dark hair and his wife's brown eyes. In this new world, no one would call her impure. No one would cast her out. No one would tell her she was less than perfect. You did it, June said to Hannah. You changed everything. We did it, she corrected him. All of us together. The humans who refused to abandon me. The refugees who stood up to fight. The Valti, who chose conscience over conformity. She looked up at the sky where ships from 100 worlds came and went in peaceful trade. The galaxy had not become perfect overnight. There was still prejudice, still fear, still those who clung to the old ways. But change had begun. And like all lasting change, it spread not through force, but through example. One person helping another, one act of courage, inspiring the next one choice to include rather than exclude. The silver bands caught the sunlight as Hannah raised her hand to shade her eyes. They reminded her of how far she had come, from outcast to leader, from despised to respected, from alone to surrounded by friends. Lieutenant June Park had broken the rules to save her life. In return, she had helped break the barriers that divided the galaxy. Sometimes the greatest heroes were those society had thrown away, and sometimes the most powerful. Force in the universe was simply the refusal to abandon hope.